Are you struggling to unlock new tanks, planes and ships, or feeling left behind due to not having a premium account? Well, with the pgejr Android app you can get it all for free. The developer of this app works directly with Gaijin, is 100% legal, and breaks none of the terms of service. Carry out small tasks, such as completing surveys and watching ads, and in return, you'll receive free Golden Eagles for War Thunder, speeding up your progression. When you earn 28 or more Golden Eagles, you can deposit them straight into your War Thunder account. Simple. If you download and install pgejr with my link in the description below, you can enter my personal code and receive 10 Golden Eagles for free. Using this link directly helps me as a creator, but more importantly lads, it helps you. So let's help each other. Download pgejr from the Google Play Store and start planning on what you're going to spend those Eagles on. Thanks again to pgejr for sponsoring this video. Alright lads, welcome back to the channel. Whether you're a new subscriber or a long time viewer of this channel, thank you very much for stopping by today. Today we're going to be taking a look at the KV-1C 756. This of course is a German premium, which is infamous for being rather overpowered. It is currently a rank 3 battle rating 4.7 heavy tank located in the German tech tree, but in the future, its battle rating is going to be increasing up to 5.0. Whether this battle rating change will affect its performance remains to be seen, but from my experience playing this tank, as well as the amount of these vehicles I've seen on the battlefield, it is certainly one of the best beginner premiums in the game. So let's get into the review. This tank is of course a premium, and to unlock it, you're going to have to fork out 2,980 Golden Eagles, which isn't a terribly large investment, especially if you're serious about grinding the German tech tree. As with all other premiums in the game, it's going to cost you 10,000 silver lines to put this vehicle in your lineup. We then come on to the expert in age qualifications, and it's going to cost you 270,000 silver lines and 630 Golden Eagles respectively. Being both a low tier and a premium, you can naturally expect a low repair cost, and the KV-1C does not disappoint, with a meagre repair cost of 3,400 silver lines, making this premium very economically friendly to play. We then come on to the other good thing about premium tanks, the rewards. With a premium account, as well as playing in realistic battles, you'll get an RP modifier of 480% and a silver line modifier of 300%. In terms of customization, you have the base tan camouflage as well as 2 other arctic camouflages. In this video we're going to cover the mobility, armour and firepower of the vehicle before finishing with a conclusion. If you do enjoy these sorts of videos lads, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. Starting as always with the mobility, and the KV-1C is powered by an engine producing 600 horsepower. Combined with the vehicle's weight of 47.5 tonnes, it has a power to weight ratio of 12.6 horsepower per tonne. For a battle rating 4.7, this isn't too bad to be honest. It's around the same power to weight ratio as a Tiger II, found at a much higher battle rating. It's important to remember that this KV-1 is a heavy tank, so we can't accept the best performance. The power to weight ratio of 12.6 isn't too bad for a heavy tank to be honest. The tank does accelerate pretty well, but its hull traverse is a little lacklustre in my opinion. But again, it is a heavy tank, so you can't really expect too much. When it comes to top speeds, it is actually pretty decent, with 35 km per hour going forward and 7 km per hour in reverse. The top speed of 35 km per hour, combined with the rather average power to weight ratio, does make it feel a little bit sloppy when you're trying to get up to that top speed. You kind of feel like you don't really get above around 30 km per hour. Again, this is mainly due to it being a heavy tank. It's very heavy, especially if you're on soft ground such as mud or sand. It does feel incredibly sloppy to drive. The 7 km/h reverse speed, you know, there's not really too much to say. It's not as bad as the British vehicles, but 7 km/h is a lot lower than what you really want, to be honest. You want to be up there in the like 10 to 14 km/h range. If you get stuck in a pinch, it's kind of like the Panzer IVs and the Panzer IIIs. If you get caught out with your pants down, you're not going to be making it out of there alive. So unless you know that you can rely on your armour to protect you, don't drive out in front of enemy guns, because with a reverse speed of 7 km/h, you aren't going to make it back into cover, especially at the battle rating of 4.7 to 5.0, where enemies generally have fast firing guns. Moving on to the armour survivability, and to start, the KV-1C has a crew of 5 men, with 2 in the hull and 3 in the turret. Despite being a heavy tank noted for its high armour, a battle rating 4.7 and soon to be 5.0, its survivability is rather dubious. Not only is the fighting compartment pretty cramped, but it's also packed full of ammunition, as well as fuel stores, the latter 2 of which are highly explosive. Just like most American tanks, there is ammunition littered along the floor of the hull, as well as in the turret, This means that an incoming round is either going to hit some ammunition or one of your crew members, almost certainly crippling or causing serious critical damage to the tank. But if we quickly move on to the Armour performance itself, and with some help using the gun of the KV-85, you can see that the KV-1 is actually quite well armoured. Its lower frontal plate offers around 130mm of protection, and when we move to the upper frontal plate, it does drop down to around 109mm, but this is highly flat, so try and angle this if you can. Moving upwards, and the turret of the KV-1C is rather dubious. It's quite awkward to get a shot in, to be honest. If you're hitting them in the centre of the cheeks here, you can get around 100mm of penetration. You can easily go through it with the Soviet gun, but around the rest of the turret it's quite well angled, it's quite dodgy to be honest, you will bounce a lot. You do have an obvious weak spot here with the commander's cupola, but that's a weak spot on pretty much all of the German vehicles. If we turn the camera to the side of the vehicle, and we have a pretty much constant 75mm of armour running down the hull of the tank. And if we move up to the turret, it increases up to around 100mm of armour. To conclude, the survivability of the KV-1C is actually pretty poor if a round penetrates your armour, but you do have some reliable armour which you can reliably bounce rounds, especially with a lower tier gun. At best rating 5.0, where it is likely to face up tiers at 6.0, the armour of this tank is likely going to be pretty redundant, as the heavy tank guns and even medium tank guns at battle rating 6.0 will easily punch through this armour. Alright, so moving on to the best part of all my reviews, the firepower. And the KV-1C is armed with a 75mm KWK-40 L48 cannon. You can carry a total of 80 rounds of ammunition, with all 80 of those rounds being classed as first stage ammunition, so you have a constant reload rate. In terms of vertical guidance, you have 25 degrees of gun elevation, as well as a sub-standard 6 degrees of gun depression. If this tank did have the full 10 degrees of gun depression, it would be a hull down monster, but 6 degrees is certainly workable. By German standards, we also have relatively poor gunner optics. We have a base 1.9x zoom and an optional 3.5x zoom, with a relatively tight field of view. This is something to be expected, being a former Soviet vehicle. But taking a look at the reloading skill under the loader section, and we have a base reload speed of 7.6 seconds, which drops down to 5.9 seconds with an ace crew. So make sure to pick up that ace crew qualification. We now come on to the ammunition, and just like pretty much all German guns in the game, your best round is your stock round. This is the Panzergrenade 39 shell. It travels at 750 meters per second, making it actually relatively slow moving, and also contains a relatively small amount of TNT filler, only 28.9 grams. But this round can penetrate 140mm of flat armour at 10 meters, and 97mm of armour angled at 30 degrees at a range of 500 meters. This gun, in fairness, is actually a medium tank gun, taken pretty much straight off a Panzer IV. It has good penetration for battle rating 4.7, as well as penetration and post-penetration damage. But in a full up tier to battle rating 6.0 in the future, it may struggle, especially against vehicles such as the Sherman Jumbo, which it stands no chance of penetrating. The other stock shell is a high explosive round. It travels much slower at 550 meters per second and contains 686 grams of TNT, giving it 10mm of explosive penetration. We also have a pretty lackluster high explosive anti-tank shell. This is a chemical round, meaning its penetration is constant over range. The shaped charge in its warhead can penetrate 80mm of armour at all ranges. Its TNT equivalent filler of 872 grams is also pretty good, and has high post-penetration damage. Most vehicles at battle rating 4.7 can be penetrated by 80mm of armour, but you will struggle with enemy heavy tanks. Once again, with vehicles such as the German Jumbo. Our final round is the pgejr APCR round, or Armour Piercing Composite Rigid. This travels much faster at 930 meters per second, and penetrates 166mm of armour, and can penetrate 110mm of armour angled at 30 degrees at a range of 500 meters. While these penetration statistics are very impressive, you have to remember that APCR rounds contain no explosive filler. They do create light spalling damage, but you will have to aim for critical parts of a tank, such as crew members, and guns, engines, or fuel tanks. And that pretty much covers all the KV-1C's weaponry. We do have a coaxially mounted rifle caliber machine gun, but that really isn't useful for anything other than marking enemies. To conclude, the gun of the KV-1C is pretty good, but at battle rating 4.7, it's starting to lose some of its magic. While incredibly powerful at battle rating 4.0 on the Panzer H and J, at battle rating 4.7 and soon to be battle rating 5.0, as I mentioned earlier, this gun may struggle to penetrate the big Soviet and American heavy tanks. But as you've probably seen if you've ever played Germany battle rating 4.7, the KV-1C is one of the most dominant tanks in the game, all down to this incredibly punchy and hard hitting gun. Before we get into the review, let me know down below what you guys think about the KV-1C, and which plane, ship or tank you guys would like to see reviewed next. But to conclude, as I say in the title of this video, I generally do think that the KV-1C is probably one of the best beginning premiums in the game. It's fairly mobile, fairly survivable, and has a reliable, if not somewhat mediocre gun. The KV-1C has basically all of the good things in War Thunder. It's a fairly cheap premium, low repair cost, high rewards, fun to play, and it's in the German tech tree, where you basically get carried by the autistic level of German tech tree players. While at its current battle rating of 4.7, as well as in the future when it goes up to battle rating 5.0, the KV-1C won't have a real lineup, as no other German tanks share this battle rating. But you could easily take this tank in a battle rating 5.3 or 5.7 lineup, and as it currently is at battle rating 4.7, I use this tank, as well as several other 4.3 vehicles, and still find myself having fun and highly competitive games, despite being the only 4.7 vehicle in this lineup. This is easily the best premium in the game, sub 3000 Golden Eagles, and it's honestly one of my favourite grinders. This current ongoing event, the Summer Landing event as it's called, I've been using the KV-1C to grind out the tanker challenges. It's just currently so dominant at 4.7, where 5 kills a game is pretty much standard, and if you purchase yourself a few backups, you can easily get 10 kill games. While the lineup at 4.7 is rather weak as I've mentioned, and so is German CAS at pretty much all battle ratings, the KV-1C probably, in my opinion, is the best beginner premium in the game. Considering that most vehicles I review are battle rating 9.0 and above, coming down to battle rating 4.7 and enjoying the lower tiers has been probably one of the best things to do in my War Thunder career. Well, War Thunder experience, not really going to call it a career, but you get what I mean lads. Coming back down to 4.7 has been kind of cathartic. It's just relaxing every game. You still do get the odd annoying thing like revenge bombing in Tismars and PE8, fuck me. 5-ton bombs are no joke. But I can't really say too much more. The KV-1C, I've had a lot of fun playing it. I've played it on stream a lot if you've watched that. For 3000 Golden Eagles, I honestly think it's a bargain. When it goes up to battle rating 5.0, it may not be as competitive, but it does still be fun lads. And with that being said, thank you very much for watching this video. Please do consider checking out the sponsor, it really just helped me out. Like, comment, subscribe, and I thank you very much for watching lads. See you in the next one.